Hey everybody, it's Jenny, and I'm going to share with you how I planned this week in my 7x9 Plum paper planner, which is the same size as a classic Happy Planner. These are the Stickeys sticky notes that I use to pre-plan this week. You can see them all right there. I like them. They are really great quality. They have really nice designs, and they're fantastic. Now, last week is the week that I did that ink smushing technique. So I showed you how it's really sort of a user error type thing. It's not so much the paper bleeding. I mean, there is a little bit of that, but so it's a combination of that and me being really a messy crafter. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to cover it up. I'm taking two of these stickers and just going to layer them and making the little one or the top one a little bit off kilter, just so it's got a little bit of a tilt to it right there. And so that covers up the majority of it. And then I'm going to add one of these clear little florals down there just to even up the cluster. And if you're wondering what that means, so I always have like a background, an anchor, and an accent. And so it's all, unless I add 5 elements, which is definitely possible, but not quite as common. And so that's what helps with the third one. Now I'm on the opposite page using this large floral cluster that's on clear sticker paper, and I've layered it so it hangs off just ever so slightly, which is on purpose. I wanted it to draw your eye all the way down to the corner of the page and then also like off the edges as well. And then for my third element, I'm just going to do a little bit more layering using that box. And then I'm going to take a clear sticker, trim off the edge of it so it sits flush with the edge of the box, and put that right there. And then simply add one of the long thin quotes that is, sort of like in the traditional like weekend sticker box, these right here. And put that right up there at the top. I like that technique because it sort of elongates the cluster without actually providing too much. It doesn't take away too much, and it doesn't add too much visual weight is what I'm trying to get at. So you can see I have the 3 main decorative clusters. I will add more decoration as the week goes on when there's white space on my days, but those are the 3 main points. And you can see right there that also fills out the visual triangle. So if I drew lines in between those, we'd have a triangle. Now I am planning on Monday, and I am simply following the very basic ideas, which I have is I put down the activities that I know that I have, and I try to alternate between stickers and writing directly on the page. And before I do the writing, I do a little bit of highlighting just to add that pop of color as well, because I really like the way that it looks. Will I do it forever? Who knows? But for right now, it's a technique that I'm really enjoying, and so I do it. I am using a Stabilo highlighter. You'll see me use this on weeks that I want like a blush pink highlighter. I don't have a good mild liner that represents that color, and this Stabilo one works great for that, so I use it. And I do find that it actually soaks into the paper quite a bit. I was trying to think of like a way to compare it with the mild liners, and I can't really, because some of the mild liners really soak in like that too. And so there is some bleeding with this particular Stabilo on the Happy Planner paper, which is why I'm not really using the Happy Planner this year because of the paper issues. So it's a bummer. Alrighty, so we have moved on to Tuesday and we're doing the same thing, and I'm also making sure to include the icon stickers as well, because you know how I love those. I don't know if you also noticed on Monday, I am using the clean color dot markers also to notate the bullet points. So maybe instead of a icon sticker, say it's something kind of random and I don't really have an icon sticker specific for that, I can use the bullet or the dot markers, and they are amazing. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I love them, and they've really changed how I plan. I have an enormous stack of bullet point stickers, but this is like 10 times easier to just use the marker, and so it's really, really exciting. I will link up the package that I have in the notes below. The other side is actually just a pen. It's a perfectly nice tip pen. I don't use it because it's a little bit thin for my taste, but that is genuinely just a preference issue. It's not that there's anything wrong with the marker whatsoever. I just like a really thick tip pen because I have very large handwriting. Now I added a little baseball stamp right there. I think it's so cute. Obviously you've seen I have baseball icon stickers in my stash, but stamping it sometimes is really fun for me because I do enjoy stamping and I love having those elements on my page as well. So see, there's my Happy Planner Sports sticker book, and there's a baseball icon right there. So you know that I've got them. It's just that stamping them can be so fun, and I like to do that. Now, when I am planning, I'm also thinking about how I'm going to have white space throughout the week. So for example, I know that Wednesdays are usually fairly light plan day for me. So I'm thinking, do I want to have a big empty spot at the end of Wednesday right next to my decorative cluster? No, I didn't want to have that. Now, some days I do want to have that. Some days I want to build upon that decorative cluster if I'm going to do that. It just really depends on the design of the page and how I'm feeling. So for this week, I did not want to do that. So that's why I put my plans right next to that up there so that I would have to move my decorative elements down throughout Wednesday if I ended up having any at all. Again, obviously things pop up. We all know that happens in our schedules. And sometimes then I have a huge long to-do list, or I get a ton of mail, or just stuff like that. So maybe I wouldn't have any more decorative elements to add at all. But if I do, they will be further down in the day. Now, the same thing is true on Thursday, though Thursdays are a very busy day for me, and I do have a lot of things going on Thursdays. But I did the same thing in terms of writing my plans up at the top right next to that decorative cluster so that I wasn't going to add more decorative stickers right next to it. And then if I was going to add more decorative, it would be further down in the day. But that's kind of the beauty of this planning as I go. I get this little burst of creativity every day as I plan. And so you just never know what we're going to end up with. So I'm adding another little baseball. And again, it's a little bit of a bummer because I'm not adding a ton of stamping this week, but other weeks certainly make up for that. And these little tiny baseballs do at least add a little bit of that fun for me. Now you can see that I did leave a chunk open in the middle for Thursday. So whether or not that gets filled up with other information, appointments, activities, things like that, or if it ends up being decorative, it will not be directly next to the Friday decorative cluster. Though, as you can see, the Saturday and Sunday one is so big and spills over into Friday. So it definitely could go, they could sort of blend together in that way. Now, I am using one of those bigger box stickers on Friday, and those are always, that particular one, those sizes are always really difficult for me because it's so big that I don't usually have that much to fill it up with. So that's why these online school or in-person school have been great for me using some of those boxes because it's information that I do have to include that I don't normally have a use for those boxes. Now you can see on Monday I'm adding a couple more boxes for things, for information to include. And again, as we talked about already and have talked about every week for the past, I don't know how many weeks, I'm alternating between writing directly on the page and in those boxes. So I just have to be mindful when I add those things because I might have the room for it, but is it going to work out for me to alternate those? Now, obviously, it's not the end of the world if I don't. I mean, obviously, I don't absolutely have to. However, it is my preference, so if I'm able to, I do that. And it's become sort of second nature to me after planning like that all of this time. Now, this sticker book is so beautiful, and the bummer about it is that it just doesn't show up quite as pretty as it is in person, though this camera does do a fairly good job of picking up the beauty of it. But it's just so lovely, and it's just really timeless, and it's got a really classic feel. Even if you're not that into pink, like it isn't an overwhelmingly, I don't want to say feminine because it's really feminine, but it's not bubblegum pink or Pepto-Bismol pink, and that's really nice, even though I like those shades of pink as well. Now, there was so little to include on Tuesday. It was really just a couple of extra stickers, so we didn't even really get to talk about it because it was it was just a really busy day for me, and so there wasn't much to include. But now we're on to Thursday, and so or Wednesday, I'm sorry. And so we're adding those extra elements right here, as you can see, alternating back and forth as we do. Now those little rounded stickers, not the circles, but the rounded stickers are typically really difficult for me because they're a little bit smaller and my handwriting is really big. And for some reason, the design is not exactly my favorite. So I like to challenge myself in using them, like use them, get used to them, and make them a little bit more natural to use, because they're definitely not ones that I would automatically reach for. I'm definitely more of a square corners type of girl and prefer that a lot. But I like to use what I have as well. So it's that cross between being torn of it not being my favorite and then also wanting to use it. Now I am holding my paper up to that today sticker because I want to use it right there, and I wasn't sure if it would fit, and as luck would have it, it does, vertically anyway. So I simply used my X-Acto knife to cut it in half and then add that part right there, and I think it turned out awesome. And then I have another little bit of that sticker to use a little bit later. Now this is super old washi, and I bet some of you have it in your stash if you're anything like me. I actually bought this tube of it at the Mamby Happy Planner warehouse sale because I ruined the first tube of it. It's not even a story that's worth telling, but I ruined the first tube of it. So I'm using the second of it, and I think that's really fun. I mean, it doesn't quite go, but I think in the end, when the whole week is finished, it won't even be something that is particularly noteworthy, but it's really fun washi. There's so many rolls in that one that I really like a lot. Now on Wednesday and Thursday, I do like to remove, if necessary, the pages from the discs because it's harder for me to write on them when they're right next to the discs. So that is what I have done right here, and then I'm just adding the other little bits and pieces that I need to for Thursday. Now I wanted to add this box, and again, like that other sticker, it really wasn't the right size, so it was too big. So what I decided to do was just use my X-Acto knife and trim off the excess. I'm also using the edge of that ruler. I'm not 100% sure why. I guess maybe to make it straight, but I didn't do a great job of it anyway, so take from that what you will. But it doesn't bother me or anything, so it's okay. But I wanted to use it. It works out great right there, and especially I like it compared to the Wednesday, that other sticker that I have using vertically. So it's kind of a cool mix and a match. Now we come into Friday, and this is where, again, I have a hard time with the exposure at certain times of the day on my camera, getting it all correct, and it's a little bit overexposed. So like we talked about last week, it's either don't make a video because this is a little overexposed, or share it with you anyway. So I'm sharing it with you anyway because I think that that's more important than it being perfectly exposed, and it's a little bit better this week anyway. So as you can see, we're just continuing to add upon the things that I like to include in my planner, which are obviously activities, errands, happy mail, anything outside or anything that seems noteworthy, and even some of the smallest things I include that seem noteworthy, because that's exactly the point, is that I want to remember all of these things someday, even if how minor they are. Now, obviously, happy mail isn't really something that I care that much about, like for the future, but for right now, I do enjoy including that. So it's kind of a balance, right? It's not all for the future. Some of it's for right now, which is honestly how I sort of approach most things, is that it's not usually just singularly focused. Like scrapbooking, for example, it's really all for me, but if it ends up being nice for my kids someday, that's great, but I do it now just because I really like it. So now on Saturday, I know that there are a few different things that I want to include. So we're starting right up at the top of the page, and it's the same thing as before. I don't want any decorative elements to build upon the cluster that I already had. So if I fill in that white space right now, then that's not even a possibility, and I'll have to build upon a different part of the decoration if that's necessary. However, I knew that probably wasn't going to be the case because there was quite a bit for the weekend. So Now there is another one of those rounded stickers. We've included quite a few of those this week, which makes me feel really happy because I do really want to use up the supplies that I have, especially if I purchase them. It feels really important to me to use them, you know? And I loved that big joy. I really wanted that to go there, but it just wasn't going to fit. It was way too big. So this phrase going along with the drawing below, the floral drawing, is just absolutely beautiful. I'm loving how that turns out. I think that it's so pretty. And it also, again, it challenges me because I had some things for Sunday that I needed to get included on there. And how will I make that work? Like, how am I going to take that little bit of space and put all of the things down that need to be included? So I love that. I honestly love thinking outside the box. I love looking at things differently because that's where I find that I grow as a paper crafter, is by trying new things and not always doing the same thing over and over and over again. So up there at the top is another one of those huge boxes that I'm never really quite sure how I'm going to use, but I always want to because, again, if I bought them, I want to use them. So we're just filling it in with baseball game information, and then that is it for me this week. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching. I really do appreciate it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment box below, and I will do my very best to get back to you. Thanks so much, and make it a great day.